Hi everybody, thanks for joining today's webinar. This is DTC's first webinar to our clients and we're thrilled with the turnout. We have a full house today, so we're going to jump right in. Today we're going to be reviewing the newest product offering by DTC, the Quarterly Outlook and Price Forecast. It's a great new product that we're really excited about. Sorry about that feedback there. We'll go over what's included in the report, some of the methodology we use, what you can expect from us on a monthly basis. We also have digital features that come along with the subscription. So hang on, we'll be really quick. We're not going to waste anybody's time. A few housekeeping items really quick. We have about a 20-25 minute presentation, which will follow with the question and answer period. All the attendee phone lines are muted, so we avoid any unnecessary background noise. Except for, Steve's on the line, so he might jump in every once in a while. During the presentation, you can ask a question using the question function that's built into the GoToWebinar application. It's on your screen. Just type the question directly into the box, and we'll try to get to as many questions as we have time. We'll follow up with any unanswered questions after the webinar. This webinar is being recorded, and we can send out instructions on how to download and view a copy of it in case you need to jump off early or you want to share it with a colleague later. Introductions. My name is Phil Wagner. I'm one of the newest members of the team here at DTC. And in my short time here, I've had the pleasure of helping to develop some of the models and methodologies behind this new product. But our main presenter today, he's the man. He's the smartest guy I know. Hans Daniels, Executive Vice President here at DTC. He's going to take you through the presentation, and there you go, Hans.
All right. Thank you, Phil. I'm Hans Daniels. Welcome, everybody. I think we have a full house today. I believe there are 66 of you that have signed up for this webinar, so we're quite excited by that turnout. So let me just cut right to the heart of what we're doing here. Okay, so what's inside? Well, Doyle Trading Consultants, or DTC, as many of you know, we've been the go-to source for a lot of your market news and market analytics. Well, we're expanding those capabilities, and this is a continuation of our expansion of our products as well as our services. So what you're seeing here is we've expanded into forecasting, we have expanded into consulting work, and we are also offering new products. So what you're seeing here is the results of one of our latest products, which is our Quarterly Coal Outlook and Price Forecast. And what this forecast is and what this product is, probably the key feature in this is our forecast on supply, demand, and price. But we don't just look forward, we also have extremely detailed analysis and data on historical granular level information on the coal industry. And what separates this from many of the other products out there is you have online access to the data. So anyone interested in some of the data that was used to generate this report, whether it's exports or inventory, you can access that online. And then also we release our data monthly. So even though this is a quarterly report, we do provide supplemental monthly updates for some of our key features. For example, inventories and exports. Inventories at the U.S. utility level and U.S. exports. We update that monthly. When the data comes out, we release it at the granular basin level data and send that to you. So our price forecast, which is probably what's received the most interest of all of our products out there. Let me just describe that in general for you. What we have is 15 different coal types that we forecast. We have 3 Central Appalachian coals, 2 Northern Appalachian coals, 3 Illinois Basin coals, 2 PRB coals, 2 Rockies, 2 international coals, API 2 and API 4, as well as a metallurgical coal. And the forecast that we provide goes out for the next 3 years. So what that means is we provide quarterly resolution for the next 6 quarters, and annual resolution over the next 3 years. So we provide for 2015, 2016, and 2017 the annual numbers, but for the next 6 quarters we also have our price forecast for each of those next 6 quarters. In addition, what you're seeing is what we call our short-term forecast. Included with a subscription to this, we will provide our long-term forecast, and that covers years 3 through 20. That long-term forecast will also cover the 15 major coal types, or 14 major coal types. However, we will only update that once, and that update occurs in the 4th quarter of each year. Another feature that is extremely well received with this price forecast is we don't simply put out a price forecast. We show our confidence that we have in each one of those prices. And by that, what that is we provide a stochastic range associated with the price strip. So you will see a median price strip, just like you may from other services out there. However, you also get the standard deviation associated with that price strip. What that means is you get a sense of the confidence that we have for each one of those prices going forward. And the value of that, for example, it's very helpful, for example, asset valuation scenarios. If you want to see the value of a mine or a coal company or any of the numerous support services that are tied to the industry, you can look at our high case number, our lower case number, and get a sense of what the valuation of a particular product or company may be. And then finally, on the price forecast side, we also have the capability to provide custom coal price forecasts for subscribers. So if you are looking for a particular type of coal that does not fall within one of these 15 types, we can provide a domestic thermal price coal customized to your specifications. And that includes based on the origin of the coal, the transportation options of that coal, the rail district in which that coal originates, the quality of the coal, whether it's BTU, sulfur, ash, etc. We will take all of that into account to generate a customized coal price forecast. So to give you an example of our stochastic forecast that we have in the report, and this is taken straight from the report, you can see, we've covered up some of the information, but we're sharing an awful lot here. You can see the Central App and Northern App price strips on that one graphic that's behind the other. And then the graphic that's in the front, that's the Central App median price. That's a 12,500 BTU, 1.6 pound CSX rail coal. And you see the line, which is the median price, but then you also see the vertical bars associated with that. That gives you a sense of the confidence that we have within that price forecast. So the prices may fluctuate within that one range. And again, that's the standard deviation. I won't bore you with statistical education here for those who don't care for statistics. I hear you. But what this does is it says anything that falls within one standard deviation, there's essentially a 68% chance that that will occur. Again, on the forecast side, in addition to the prices that you've seen, we also provide supply and demand forecasts. And we have a basin level production forecast for obviously for all the coal basins or the major coal basins, CAP, Colorado, Utah, Illinois Basin, Northern App, etc., as well as imports. And we also have a demand forecast where we break out demand going out for the next 3 years through the end of 2017, and we do that for utilities, coking coal, industrial, residential coal, and exports. And the exports are broken out by the steam as well as coking coal. Now, this information is tied to DTC's monthly update, and many of you already subscribe to that. What we do is we take it out even further, right? So we go out to 2017. We use the latest monthly update data and extend from there. We continue on from there. So on the analytical side, so you've seen our forecast, you've seen the price forecast, the supply and demand forecast that goes in here. Now we get to work and look at some of the analytics that can accompany this. Here's an example of a graphic that we have that was included in the report. This one in particular is for the Atlantic Basin. And we also provide Pacific Basin netbacks. This is the Seaborne netback for the Atlantic Basin. You can see the API2 coal going into Europe. And we netted back to all of the major supply basins around the world. Certainly Northern App, Illinois Basin, Colombia, Central App, as well as Russia, South Africa, and just to throw it in there as well, Australia coal. So you can see what the netbacks are for those various countries, who's in the money, who's not in the money. And the way we set up this graphic is we wanted to present information in a way that's unique but very readily digestible. This is a graphic that is colored by net imports and net exports. So the dark green countries are net exporters. The dark red countries are net importers. Our goal here is so you can see just at a glance where the coal flows are going across the world. You can see who's supplying the coal, who's demanding the coal, and where the coal flows are likely to go. Continuing on with our analysis, because one of the key things that we do is when we forecast coal prices and supply and demand, we want to be very transparent, and we want you to see all the information that we see, or at least all the relevant information that we see. So here's an example of weather, and the weather impact is weather is one of the key drivers in the coal industry, and certainly on the market side. Hot summers can generate huge demand as well as cold winters, as we just saw a few months ago here in the U.S. Well, our weather forecast, what we've done is we've looked at the 12 monthly forecasts put out by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And then we developed a model, and this is just one of 10 models that we used in this report that we developed exclusively for this report, where we forecast the impact that the forecasted weather will have on basin level burn by each month. So I'm going to just describe this weather model. I certainly won't go into all the other models, but just to give you a sense of how this model was developed. This weather model, it discretizes regional 12-month temperature forecasts for each NERC region. And then we compiled and analyzed millions of data points, of localized hourly temperature data points, where we were able to determine the expected load increase or decrease that's caused by an incremental change in temperature for each month. And then any deviations from normal temperatures for a given period of time were analyzed for variations in electricity demand and coal consumption. So once we had a sense of the historical coal consumption by basin and the expected coal consumption by basin in each NERC region, we modeled the expected increase or decrease in basin coal consumption due to the forecasted temperature variations in each NERC region. So we looked, what that all means is we broke this down into each NERC region. We then look at the temperature or the expected increase or decrease in temperature compared to the normal temperature for that given month. And I'll just give an example. So Texas, ERCOT is looking, if ERCOT is forecasted to have a hot summer, then the demand for coal is going to go up. But ERCOT, which is essentially Texas, really only burns PRB coal, Gulf lignite coal, and occasionally a little bit of Rocky Mountain coal. But they certainly don't burn any Central Appalachian coal. So a hot summer in Texas will have very little direct impact on Central Appalachian prices, but it will have a direct impact on PRB and Gulf lignite, well, really PRB prices. So we accounted for all of that, and in the table at the bottom there, you can see what the expected impact is of weather on each one of those basins for each particular month. Now, continuing on with our analysis, we look at the competing fuels. And you can't just look at coal in a bubble. You really have to understand that everything is related. So we look at nuclear, we look at natural gas, we look at wind, and we look at hydro. On the natural gas side, we analyze several different things. Certainly in the report you can get a better sense of our analysis on the relationship between storage and price. And we certainly saw that this winter as the storage levels were depleting rapidly and price ran up quickly. And we get into that in much greater detail in the report. Also in this report, we provide year-over-year comparison going back to the beginning of 2010 of coal, gas, and other switching, and other being primarily renewables. But you can see at which point does coal dispatch over gas, when does gas displace coal, when does renewable work its way in there, and then we did this analysis also. We overlaid it with the price differential between Henry Hub gas prices subtracted from the NYMEX coal price. So you can see at which point, when that differential gets lower and lower, what impact does that have on coal-gas switching. But we're not just about looking in the past. We also, as much of this report does, it looks at the future. We understand you have to look at the past, and you have to have a very good understanding of data and granular data. But we also go back in the, or we also look at scenarios in the future. And at the bottom of this graphic here, you'll see what we call our DTC coal versus nat gas model. We ran 63 price scenarios where we said, let's see at what price going forward will gas dispatch over coal in various regions. So in the one that you may be able to see on your screen there, PJM East is the region. The coal type is Northern App coal, 13,000 4.5 pound rail. And we varied the coal price plus or minus 10% from where it was at that moment. So $55, $61, $66. And then we also played around with Henry Hub prices at $4, $4.50, and $5 to see at what point does gas or coal dispatch one over the other. Continuing on with wind, we set this up so you can quickly see what's the status of the renewable portfolio standards across the United States. If you look at that bottom left map, you'll see that pretty much everywhere other than the Southeast has some sort of RPS associated with it. And in the top right map, we graphed out each one of those pies are for each state, and red is the amount of coal capacity, and green is the amount of wind capacity in each state. And the reason we set it up that way is so that the user can readily see where wind is the most likely or has the most potential to displace coal. If you look in the Southeast, there's a lot of coal, but there's no wind. Conversely, in the West, there's a lot of wind, but no coal. So we wanted to see how much wind could actually displace coal. So one of the models that we developed, we looked at the potential displacement of coal by wind. We assumed a normal capacity factor, normal utilization rate for the wind farms, and how much coal can they displace, not just by NERC region, but by basin. So how much, which coal basins are at the greatest risk of losing market share due to wind. And in this particular example, you see that PRB coal has the greatest exposure to wind. It accounts for roughly half of the exposure of to wind in total. In total, there's about 70 million tons of coal that's at risk to wind, and PRB bears 36 million tons of that risk. Next, we look at hydro, and we provide a one-year forecast on hydro output expected hydro output for the upcoming year, and that's based on our analysis of snowpack and drought. In this map that we provide, you can see the blue dots are where all the major hydroelectric facilities are located, and then the map is overlain with the snowpack levels and the percent of normal. Our analysis has showed that we really should expect just a slightly below average hydro year this year. In California, it's going to be way below normal, but the Pacific Northwest actually had a pretty good a pretty good snowpack developed as of the end of March, so they should continue to be doing okay. And then next is nuclear. And on the nuclear side, we look at several things. Certainly we keep you informed of the upcoming retirements. We look at the new builds that are coming online, any expansions that are expected to occur. But we also forecast the planned outages, and we do a 3-year forecast of planned outages. Some of that is based on proprietary information that we gather. A lot of it is based on public and governmental information, but we've looked at historical patterns, historical trends of when the various units will be going out, and we project that forward based on their pattern of refueling. So we see actually that 2015 should be when there's a bit of a surge in planned outages for nuclear power. Next, in our analysis, we look at retirements. And we don't just look at what's occurred in the past, we're looking forward, right? That's what really people care about. So we're looking through 2020. And we wanted to see, not just who's retiring and where they're retiring. Everyone knows that, or if you don't, it's pretty readily available. But what we wanted to show is what impact do those retirements have on the coal suppliers? In which basins are supplying coal to those retiring units? And who is transporting that coal to the retiring units? So we traced all of that back to the individual coal companies, to the individual basins, and to the individual transportation companies to see when the coal plants or when the coal units retire, who's going to lose that sale or that potential sale. And you can see over time through, each year through 2020, we show how much coal is being sold to those retiring units, and you can see how rapidly the amount of coal is falling off, whether it's the coal company or the basin or on the transportation side, whether it's rail or barge, etc. We track that. Next, what we do is we look at coal stockpiles. Now, what we've done with coal stockpiles is we don't just take the governmental data. We've developed a model to determine the basin level amount of stocks at each utility. So we don't just report total stocks of bituminous coal or sub-bituminous coal. We report how much PRB coal is in stock, how much Central App coal is in stock. And, we slice and dice that data lots of different ways. It's not just the tonnage. We look at the days of burn. We track all of that by looking at the transactions of Central App coal, for example, that are going to utilities, the amount of Central App coal that's being burned by utilities, the stockpile of Central App coal that is being held by those utilities monthly going back for years. And this is, there's a lot of data here, and we recognize that, but we've boiled it down so that you can get the information you want quickly, whether it's for Central App or PRB or just the U.S. in general. But again, you have access to this data. So you can go online and get the information yourself and do as you please with it. But what we have here is just the stockpiles and a write-up on the stocks. Next, we have exports, and our exports are also at a very granular level. We have broken out the exports, and we've traced those exports, the exported coal from the U.S. we've traced them back to the basin of origin. And then we slice and dice the data lots of different ways so that you can see exports presented in many different ways, whether it's exports by basin, exports by port, exports by destination, exports by coal type. All of that is available. So we have that available for you. And again, this is information that we keep on our website so subscribers can get the raw data, and do as they please with it. And the exports that we have, this, what you see here is historical, but don't forget we also provide a 3-year forecast on where exports are likely to go through the end of 2017. Now, to continue with our with all the information that goes into this and our transparency, one of the things we found was the regulatory issues are very critical. And what we looked at and what we found when we talked to people is they're very confusing. It's constantly changing. There are rules that are in progress, but have they been overturned? Have they not been overturned? Are they, what's the status of that? Well, we kind of cut through all that red tape and all the craziness out there for you, and we put together these quick reference tables. They are certainly, not extremely in-depth. They're not meant to be. They're supposed to give you, and they do give you, a quick overview of what the key regulatory issues are, or what the key regulations are, what's the status of them, are they currently being enforced, are they not, what's the impact or likely impact these regulations will have on the market, and then a description of just exactly what these regulations are. So it's just an easy way for you to keep track of what's going on in the industry. So there's a lot of information in here. In fact, this report is 70 pages long. And we recognize that no one has time, or very few people have time, to read through 70 pages of material, as well as, if you access our data, looking through reams and reams of data sets. So we organize this in a way that is extremely easy for you to navigate and find what you need. And the point is to help you maximize your time, to be as informed as possible while spending as little time as necessary on these reports. We start out with a report summary where we go into the, what are the key driving factors that are going into this report. Basically, if you're you just want a high-level view of what's going on, just read the first 5 pages of this report. You'll have the report summary. You'll get a sense of what's changed in the last quarter, what's likely to change in the upcoming quarter, and you'll have our price forecast and supply and demand forecast, and you'll have a really good sense of what's going on. But if you wish to dive in further, then you can go into each of the different sections. And, here is one section where we talk about what changed in the last quarter. Well, we have multiple sections, as you saw in the table of contents at the beginning of this presentation. At the beginning of each section, we have a short and sweet summary, just several bullet points, 2, 3, 4 bullet points that cover the key topics. If you read that, you'll come away with 90% of the information and certainly the key elements that we're trying to portray for that particular sector. However, if you want more information, if you want to dive down, if you want to see the rationale behind our conclusions, if you want to see why is it important that inventories are falling, or why is it not important that inventories are falling, then go into our information further and you'll see it. So I talked about all of this data being online, and we're very excited here at DTC because we've done something that is certainly new for us or new for a lot of us, and that is putting all this information online. And I'm not just talking about the reports, which you can access online, but you can access the data. And we've set it up, some of the smart folks over at Informa in our London office have set up what we call interactive dashboards, where you can play around with the data on your computer. You can just go through the internet connection, and you can quickly look at the trends in, say, Central App metallurgical exports over the 2008 through 2011 or 1996 through 2005. You can choose whatever you want. You can select different basins, different coal types, whether it's exports or inventories or the coal price forecast or supply and demand forecast. You can access all of that on our online site. And it's pretty simple. Basically, you just go to our website, enter in your username and password, and you have access to it. You can see there on that bottom on the bottom snapshot there, there's a report section, and then there's a DTC section. Click on reports and you'll get our latest reports. Click on DTC data and you'll get the data sets that are used to generate these forecasts. So before we start going into questions and whatnot, just wanted to give you a brief summary of what this quarterly coal outlook and price forecast report covers. I think we talked already about there being the 15 coal types as well as customized coal types that we'll deliver just to you if interested. It also includes the 20-year annual price forecast for the 14 major coal types. You will have access to all the latest PDFs, and because inventory data and export data comes out monthly, and we recognize a lot of you are interested in that as soon as it comes out. You don't want to wait till the next quarterly report comes out. We will also release that monthly. So as soon as that information comes out, we process it, run it through our models, and then most importantly, after we run it through our models, we review it. Steve, Ted, I do. We all look at the data to make sure that it makes sense before we send it out. Because yes, models are important and they can help you chug through lots of data and lots of numbers, but you still need humans and experts in the industry to review it to make sure that it makes sense. So all of that information is on there. The subscription price, an annual subscription, is $7,500. We're having an introductory price. I won't go more into the sales. I'll leave that to our fine salespeople like Vicki Bray and others. But certainly feel free to contact any of us regarding the product.